Thinking about adoption? When you adopt a child, you become a family. And at Lambeth Council, we can help you make that step. However, choosing to adopt is not a decision to be taken lightly. And it's vital that your reasons for wanting to do so are right. It's also important that you understand what's involved in the application and assessment procedure, and why it will take time, effort, and commitment on your part. This film explores the experiences of people who have adopted children, with support from Lambeth Council. We hope it will give you some insight into the adoption process and help you decide if adoption is right for you.
Like many couples, the thing that prompted us to adopt is the burning desire to have our own family. We'd been together for 10 years at that point, and we really wanted to have our own family and thought that actually, rather than adopting from abroad, there are many children in this country who need a really good home, which we thought we could offer.
I decided to adopt because after years of wanting to be a mum and going through 2 miscarriages and the topic, I thought to myself, I'm single and I'd rather try via adoption rather than go through losing another child naturally in that way. And it just was always a desire, so I thought, let me give it a try.
I guess for me, it was just about starting a family, and I couldn't have children naturally. So I guess I had 3 routes to go: IVF, donor eggs, or adoption, and out of the 3, that's what I picked.
We chose Lambeth because we'd done quite a lot of research with all the other boroughs that had been were allowing you to adopt in London. And Lambeth were very positive about same-sex couples. They managed to pick up the phone, they managed to return a call, and they managed to get us on a training course within 3 weeks. I'm not saying that happens for every couple, but with Lambeth they were particularly positive, and it felt like somebody was switching on the light for us in regards to adoption.
At that time, I didn't even know you could adopt through. I've lived in England for many years, and I didn't even know that each council had an adoption area. So I was quite surprised that you could do that. And because we live in Lambeth, it just seemed sensible to go through Lambeth, really.
Some people might think you cannot adopt, or you have to be married, or you have to be a homeowner, or you have to be rich if you want to be adopt. But really, there are only a few restrictions why you couldn't be an adopter. One is if you're under the age limit of 21. Second would be if you have any criminal convictions, such dealing with children most of all. Or third would be if you have any significant health conditions that would affect your parenting, really. But in general, what we are looking for is that people can make space for a child. And when we say space, we mean not only the physical space in your spare bedroom in your home. Most of all, we mean the emotional space in your life, in your family, and in your heart.
My major concern was when my brother was younger, he spent time in prison. So I was worried that that would affect me. The fact that I was single and I wasn't a high earner, I was worried that that would affect me, and the fact that I would still be working full-time after adoption. Those were my major concerns. So, but with speaking to the initial people at Lambeth, and I put those questions to them straight away, they said to me that none of those reasons would be a reason why they wouldn't consider me.
Our concerns about adoption are because we are a same-sex couple, and it's relatively new within the law, that were we going to be treated differently? Was it something that we're going to have to prove ourselves more during the adoption process? And I have to say Lambeth completely undid any of those worries. They were very positive about the fact that we were a couple and we've been together for 14 years. Not that you need to be together for that long, but the fact that we were a same-sex couple was not an issue at all.
I guess my first initial thought was it would take a really long time. I thought it's probably going to be years. And I also had a real stress about age. I'd looked into adoption in South Africa previously, and I was considered too old at the age of 41. So I was quite negative and thinking A, it would take a really long time, and maybe I would never get a child or a baby or a child. And I was really concerned too that they would just say, I'm sorry, you're too old.
We are aware that the process can be quite intense and challenging, but maybe the first step that you have to do is really to ask yourself, can I be committed to that and be prepared that it's going to be an intense time and there might be difficult questions for you. But these questions are not asked for the sake of questions, and we don't want to make things more difficult. But you have to prepare yourself and you have to reflect on your own childhood and your own life and family history. Because in the end of the day, the most important are the children, and we have to remember that these children have already lost a family, and we can't risk that they lose a second family. So it's our duty, for each party has a duty and responsibility to make sure that this time we get it right, and the right child can be matched with the right family.
In hindsight, I could say it can be a long, drawn out and very intrusive procedure, but not every case is the same, so I think some people go through it longer than others, but ultimately I think once you're matched and approved, the longest time is from the matching until the child goes home.
Just persevere. It's not all horrible, it's not all a horrible process that you have to go through. There are really lovely people there to support you, especially with Lambeth, and I would say 75% of the process for us was a pleasure to go through.
My original thoughts were that it was going to be a long, tedious process and sounded really daunting, but once we actually embarked on the process, it was actually a lot easier and actually in some ways quite a bit of fun, meeting all these different people, going to the workshop, etc. So, you know, there's a lot of enthusiasm coming from the social workers, encouraging the two of us. We were obviously had lots of different thoughts and all our questions were answered really, so they put us at ease.
The process to become an adoptive parent is split up in several stages, obviously. The first stage basically is for you to make contact with us. We have a specific initial inquiry form for that. Once we have received your inquiry, we make contact with you and a social worker will come out, do a home visit and complete the initial interview, what we call an initial interview. This allows you to ask all the open questions and after that interview to come to a decision for both sides really, if you want to go ahead with the second step. If yes, the second step is for all applicants to attend a preparation group on 3 Saturdays. The purpose of the preparation group obviously is to prepare you thoroughly for the next step and to give you a good foundation and a good knowledge about adoption. Following the preparation group, the next step is what we call the home study, which is the main part of the assessment process. This again allows you to reflect thoroughly about adoption and to learn about the children who are looking for permanent families. The end of the assessment process really is the adoption panel, and the social worker has to provide a report for that adoption panel. The adoption panel is making the final decision if an applicant can be approved as an adopter. Once you are an approved adopter, then the fourth step will start. That's the family finding, and that's really for us and for you to look out for that special child.
And I understand the whole matching thing, because that's one thing that I didn't like, and I got very upset because, you know, you're showing profiles of children and you choose them and you like them, and then you're told that you don't match them, and I'm like, but how could you match a child that you've not given birth to? That's the whole point of adoption. That was my thinking, but now I have my child, I kind of think my social worker, she really knew that she would fit into my family like that, because no one would know unless we tell people. People do not know that she's adopted, so I really have a great appreciation of the matching system as well.
I found bits of the process very daunting as we went further into it. But as far as all the, you know, the workshops, the questions, the filling out, you know, writing a bit about families and having friends interviewed or family interviewed, I found that very okay. I had other things that I found daunting that were later down the line, like I suppose making a decision to take a child after seeing a profile and maybe not taking someone else.
Looking after children and bringing up children is very challenging, demanding and fruitful. So we know looking after children who have already had a difficult start in their life, it's even more challenging and it needs a lot of support. It is not be possible to go through it all alone. So we are very aware about this and we want to support every adopter right from the start, and that means right from the beginning of the assessment. So when you start your assessment, you will be allocated to a specific social worker who will then be your #1 call for any queries, for any worries, for any anxieties, and who is there to support you throughout. Behind your allocated social worker, you have a team of experienced social worker and a team manager to give you extra support if needed. Once a child is identified, then we also have the social worker from the Children Looked After team who knows everything and every detail about and all the needs about the child. So this social worker as well is in a good position to give you all the support that you need. And even so, once the adoption order is granted, doesn't mean that we leave you alone there, because then the real life starts.
The support you get from Lambeth, they're there when you need them. They're very good at backing away if things are going smoothly, especially when the child arrives. But if you need support, they're there. We didn't actually need an awful lot of support once the child was placed, apart from the usual manic parent, new parent thing. But during the process at the beginning, we thought it was a bit like therapy, actually. They ask you lots of questions. They go into your childhood, they go into your relationship, and they just want to make sure that you are a together, strong couple. And so in that respect, Lambeth are really good. When the child arrived, they were there for the support when we needed it. But they did actually back away when we were feeling very comfortable, and we didn't particularly want, we wanted to get on with life and be a family.
The social worker we had assigned to us, he was absolutely fantastic, and he really did a great job of putting us at ease, and he had a very good sense of humour, and I think we just really gelled with him.
From Lambeth, my support has been tremendous in the sense of, I think, when my second social worker was assigned to me, I think I couldn't have been given a better social worker. I think she saw my needs, met my needs, and didn't try and encourage me to do anything I didn't want to do. And once my daughter's social worker met me a couple times, I think that's when he fell in love with me and thought, okay, yeah, this could work. And even now I still get in contact with them, and if I need any help, whatever, they've always told me they're at the end of a phone or just send them an email.
When you start the adoption process, it's really important to make 1 or 2 friends who are starting that process at the same time. And there was one couple that stuck out for us, and we're still in touch, and that's actually really important and a great form of support because they truly understand what you're going through.
Once a child has been identified for your family, then we assist you with the settling in period, and that is then the last and final step where it all becomes legal and officially. And after the child has lived with you for a minimum of 10 weeks, you can apply to the court for the adoption order.
The first time I saw her, I can only say it was just magical. It was just, couldn't put her down, didn't want to leave her, and it just felt so natural and so real for me.
The feeling you get when you first meet a child, when we first met our daughter, I remember the door opening, being met by a dazzling smile, and all of the angst that you've been through before, that feeling, it's a bit like being pregnant. Women wouldn't have another baby if they remembered all the pain, and as soon as you see that child, you kind of forget all of the process, the difficult part of the process that you've gone through.
The initial, but especially the first meeting is really daunting. You walk in and you're literally shaking from head to toe, being very nervous. And from there you sort of calm down, and it's a very interesting process. It's very exciting. When you first meet your child, you're not quite sure if they're actually going to be yours or not. You still almost have questions in your heads or doubts, and it's really a strange feeling getting to know them. And by the end of the week, your feelings are totally different. It really changes over the time. But it's certainly very exciting.
On the day that she moved in, it seemed surreal. It didn't seem real. It just seemed like, wow, she's mine and I don't have to give her back to no one. I can't believe it. It just didn't seem. I was just waiting for someone to knock and say, can I have her? You know, so for me to be able to put her to bed, wake her up, that was just, it's hard to put into words because it just meant so much to me.
Since we've had our daughter, like every couple, a new child in your life turns your life upside down. But actually, 9 months down the line, it was absolutely fantastic having a child, and making you feel like a couple and a family is the most amazing feeling.
And when you actually have your children and you actually get the enjoyment out of them and the joy of actually having these children that just love you to bits, it's just the most incredible feeling, having, you know, these two children running around and, you know, changed the whole lifestyle and home totally. So now we're a family opposed to just a couple. It's really encouraging, and people must just go out there and do it. It's fantastic.
At the moment, she's a typical 2-year-old who thinks she's 22 and she's enjoying life. I have to remind her who's the mum and who's the daughter, and I think I'm convincing myself more than her. She's a joy though, complete and utter joy.
The other day I came across a quote from a little child, and she was asked, what is adoption? So she said, adoption means that you don't grow in your mummy's tummy, but you grow in your mummy's heart. And that's what you have to bring along if you want to adopt.
Adoption is your chance to give a child a brighter future. If you would like to start a discussion with us about adoption, then call us on 0207 926 8503, or find out more by visiting www.lambeth.gov.uk/adoption.